Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. I just want to take, all of us just take a deep breath. And I can't start talking about prayer without saying a short one. This is Rumi. O love, O pure, deep love, be here, be now, be all. Worlds dissolve into your stainless, endless radiance. Frail living leaves burn with you brighter than cold stars. Make me your servant, your breath, your core. So I don't want to talk too much about what prayer is, because I think we kind of just feel it. But I want to talk about how to practice prayer. And I just want to kind of give you a buffet of different practices that you can choose what you like, leave the rest. Just some of my own experiences. Just a little bit about me. I was raised in a very loving home. My dad was a minister, but I never prayed. Never learned how to pray. We never prayed over our food. Just, it is really interesting to me that it took me till I got to my 30s and 40s that I really had to find out what prayer was for me. So my dad was a minister. He was a United Church of Christ, was kind of congregational, New England, kind of, you know, the white pews and everything white. That's what I remember about church. So this is just, I'm just going to share with you kind of my journey about prayer. And like I said, just take what you want and leave the rest. For me, prayer is a conversation, and it's between me and the divine. Now, that's kind of, sometimes that distinction is not really, doesn't really work because I am part of the divine. So how do we, for me, I think prayer is to remember my higher self, the Christ consciousness, the divine. So it's not, so when I say it's a conversation, it literally can be a conversation. It can literally be me speaking and getting answers. But I had to think about who am I speaking to? Because it's me, it's still inside me, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the things that has been helpful for me is to name what my God is. And I say God, but I kind of have a problem with the word God. I kind of grew up, God was He, and God can be a great term, but for me, it wasn't quite working. So I went to the pages of my journal, and I do soul writing, and had a conversation. What should I call you? And so I just kind of invite you all to have whatever that name is. But I think it's important to have the name. I think it's very important because we need to call in the name. And we can do that, and so these are just certain practices. Calling in the name 3 times really is helpful. It's kind of a sacred, just calling in. So at some point, maybe you already know what you call your higher power, your divine self, God. Maybe that's something to explore. I will just share with you, when I went to the pages, I said, what should I call you? It was love. So when I do my writing, I say, Dear God /love. The other thing is, who are we? What's our name? And I think it's important that we explore the name that we were given, because I don't think it was a mistake. Okay, so whatever your parents named you, is a sacred name. And for me, Amy means beloved of God. So how perfect. I love that because when I remember my name, I remember that I'm always loved. So I thank you, God, thank you, Mom and Dad. But then I also think of, there's a name for my higher self as well. And this one's been a little bit more recent for me to think about. What's the name of my higher self? So it's sort of hard to explain, but it's sort of like, it's not quite as big as God love, but it's bigger than Amy. So it's sort of like it's sort of my potential. It's who God already knows me to be, that I am then praying to remember who is that higher self. And so I also invite you to explore your name for your higher self. I didn't know what this was called, but I have a really good friend who I shared with. I said, Amy's not really fitting for me right now. I was kind of in a different space, and I said, I want to be called something different, but I don't know what it is. But for me, I knew that it started with an A and it ended with an A. And we have these moments of kind of clairsentience where we just know things. And I just knew, but I didn't know what it was. And I had shared this with a friend, and it might have been 2 or 3 months later, she came knocking on my door. She's like, Amy, I'm so excited, I found your name. And she had the foresight to not speak it to me. She's like, if you have a dictionary, I will look it up and I will point to it. And she pointed to it, and I knew. It started with an A and it ended with an A, and it was me. It was my name. It was my sacred name. It was, it was the name of my higher self. And I'm not going to share it with you because these things there are some things that need to be private and secret. And I have to tell you, because I did share it with my partner, my boyfriend that I live with, and he said it sounded like a stripper. And so I can't take that back, right? So this is just kind of a lesson that, find your sacred name, and you don't need to share it. You will know. You will know in your heart. So those are kind of some things to be put in place to have this conversation. Because the person praying and the person being prayed to are one. So for me, prayer is also just a constant remembrance of peace and the deep sacred union with the one. Like I said, Andrew Harvey, if you know of his books, he says 2 things about prayers. One is to say the name and allow that deep vibration to possess your whole being. And the second thing he says is that short prayers, the ones that are clean, pure, naked, fierce, those have the power. So when I think of a short prayer, I'm reminded here, peace, be still. Right there is all the power you need in that moment. The Buddha said, may my mind become firm like a rock and no longer shake in this world where everything is shadows. Just one sentence. Last night I had some major insomnia. I actually don't think I ever fell asleep. I was laying there, but I never got to REM, and it happens once in a while. So my short prayer was, dear God /love, really? That was my prayer. And you know, I got an answer. I received. It's okay. Everything's going to be okay. This is temporary. You're fine. Don't need to worry. You know, I received that. I mentioned soul writing. This is a great book, Writing Down Your Soul by Janet Conner. Susan and I have taken Janet Conner's classes. She has another book as well. I highly recommend it because it's having that prayer on the page, writing it down. Sometimes I'm not so tuned in to get that immediate answer where I just kind of get the intuitive, like, you're okay. Sometimes I need to write it out, and I get the answer on the page. And it's not me writing, it's writing through me, but it's, you know, and it's that higher self, it's the divine love that's answering me on the page. So here's some other hows, because really my prayer the last year is, how can I be the person that you already know me to be? That my divine love already knows me to be. How do I do that? So I want answers. I'm looking for answers. It's different than, I used to be a little upset. I would go to my therapist and I would be looking for answers, and she would say, well, you already know. Well, sometimes I don't know. You know, sometimes I really need someone else to speak alternatives, or to show me a different way, a way that I didn't know how to think or I didn't know how to be. But there is some other kind of, sometimes there are some other ways of knowing. So sometimes I do believe that God talks through other people, right? So I may not really know the answer, and I'm just struggling with, it's not really coming to me in my gut, but I can still pray about it, and I still get absolutely confirmation from outside. Oh, I have to tell you a story. My dad has transitioned 4.5 years ago, but he's still with me, right? He shows up as blue herons, as cranes. That was my dad's kind of animal totem. So anytime I see a blue heron, I'm like, hi, Dad. He would also give dollar coins to my son, kind of the gold dollar coins, and to my nephew. So my sister just went on a trip to New York and with her son. And she really was like, she was kind of really trying to bring in my dad's presence. Like, okay, Dad, you gotta come on this trip with us. You know, make stuff happen. We're gonna have fun. It's gonna be happy, but I wanna know that you're with us. And so I expect that we're gonna find a dollar coin, not a quarter, not just some little change. We're gonna find a dollar coin so that you can tell us that you're with us. And the first night that they were at the hotel, my nephew, I think he's about 3rd grade, he just got glasses. And he was unpacking and he was opening up his eyeglass case, and there was a dollar coin in there. And it was the one with the Statue of Liberty. So it was pretty cool. And you know, however you think of, whatever you want to believe is fine. But it's clear that my dad is with us. So for me, part of prayer is also kind of calling in the ancestors. Like, who is with you? Who is supporting you? Who am I the beloved to? Right? So I call on my dad a lot. I also call on my animal guides. I have one for each of my chakras, and it's been really fun to have found them. They just show up. I mean, I just know. You just kind of know. But recently, well, rabbits are one of my animal guides. And I know when I'm having a hard time and I'm walking on campus at UC Merced, there will be a wild bunny sitting right there. And I thank you, God. Thank you for the support. I know I am loved. Who else do we call on? Who's on your team? The angels and the fairies, the archangels, all the other angels, they're on my team. I call on specific ones for specific things. Archangel Michael is always just a great one for anything. Who else is who's on your team? Let's see. What other guides? What other masters and teachers do you have that are on your team? Ganesh is a deity from India. It's an elephant. When I read about Ganesh, they say he, but it's not a he to me. It's a she. So for me, she's a she. Ganesh is a really good one for me. I call on when I'm beginning something or I have obstacles. And part of prayer is to call on whoever, but I like to chant their name 3 times. So I'll just to show you, but it's Om Ganesh, 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 Om. I do that 3 times. Om Ganesh, 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 Om. Om Ganesh, 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 Om. And again, this is not that we are ever without our divine love, our spirit, our higher self. It's to remember that we are part of the one, the all. Let me see what else. Memorizing prayers is a pretty traditional way. I don't necessarily personally like the Lord's Prayer. I hope I don't offend anyone. But for me, it's too rote. So I start just changing words. Deliver me from error, not from evil. But that one is definitely a really great go-to one. The Serenity Prayer is one of my go-to prayers. Driving down 99, going to a job interview, saying the Serenity Prayer over and over again. The prayer of protection. I was just visiting with my mom. My mom had surgery. She lives in Illinois. And my grandmother, so I was in the hospital with my mom, and my grandmother was in the hospital in Minnesota at the same time. And we are all, the 3 of us are all connected because we all read the daily word together. My mom reads the daily word with my grandma at night, and then my mom reads the daily word with me in the morning. And I'll tell you a little story about my mom in a second about that. But my grandmother's go-to prayer is the prayer of protection, and she had forgotten the words. And so my mom was texting me, can you text me the prayer of protection? And it just felt really great that I could provide the words, but I'm connected, I'm connected to them through our prayers. Reading mystical poetry. I love Rumi, and I am now a fan of Hafez. If you've ever heard of Hafez, Hafiz. He's funny too. He just cracks me up. So a lot of times when I can't, generate my own prayer, and I just go to those who were so connected already. So I'm just this is what I do. I just open up to a page and just read it randomly. So here we go. Spare the world your ideas of good until you know all is good, my teacher once said to me. Spare the world your ideas of right until you know that all is holy. I love that. So that's just another thing on the buffet, medley, something to take from. Write your own prayers. This is also very, very powerful if you haven't done so already. I actually have a prayer that I wrote that I say out loud every morning. Janet Connor also told us to try to sing it. And singing, it didn't come to me, but what came to me was actually I have hand motions. So I'm doing the prayer with my entire body. And I have affirmations. I actually have a mandala that I created for the year, and I stand in front of it, and I have hand motions. I say my affirmation out loud, and my whole body is. So let me just give you, and for me, what came up was that I do them in order of the chakras. So I start with the bottom and I move up. But when I get to kind of like the 8th chakra, so I go through my mandala. I'm doing that because I can see it. And when I get to the 8th, I am free and unlimited. That's the one hand motion. I don't know if you remember the movie The Matrix, where when he finds his power and he can actually change what's happening in the Matrix. I kind of feel like that. I'm pushing out on my field. So there's that. So, think about prayer, how you can include your whole body. Include all of 5 senses. When I go into my meditation room, first thing I do is light a candle that has a really good smell. And then I say, here I am. I'm here. And it just kind of gets me grounded. So think about how you are going to use all your senses. Beautiful. I have the Crystal Bowls CD in the background, so I have hearing. I have the smell. I'm looking at my mandala. I'm writing, so I'm feeling. And then I have my tea or I have my water, so that I'm putting something nourishing in my body. So write your own prayers. Create your own rituals. What is that first thing that you're going to do when you want to get grounded? I mean, it's almost to the point where I'm so trained that I light that mat when I'm lighting the match to light my candle. It's just the act of doing the match. That's the ritual. That I'm like, okay, I'm here. Another thing is that I got, I kind of say I get downloaded information, it's not coming from me, it's coming from the divine, was to practice the Sabbath. And I'm like, what does that mean? I don't know, I'm not Jewish. I don't know what the Sabbath means, so I did a little bit of research, the Shabbat. And traditionally the Shabbat starts on the sundown on Friday, and it goes for 25 hours. So you get an extra hour there. And it came to me because, I believe it came to me because my son had been spending so much time just playing video games and watching TV, and we just needed a break. And so I started instituting the Sabbath. Now for me, it didn't necessarily have to be Friday night to Saturday. It could be some other day. But just, taking a break, having a soul day, having time to myself, having time to just put away the computer, not having, work showing up. Some other people practice it where they don't drive, not necessarily because it's not about doing the work, but that they don't want to be consuming. They're not consuming anything, so they're taking a break from being a consumer. So, just find what works. Spending time in nature. I don't know how you cannot be praying when you're in a beautiful place. I mean, that's every second that you're breathing in the fresh air or looking at the beautiful tree or whatever, that is prayer right there. A walking meditation. I'm interested, what are you guys doing for learning about the labyrinth? That sounds really, really cool. I did a labyrinth with Susan, a couple months ago, and just being open to see what is the prayer. I didn't have any intention going in, but I sure, because I was open and receptive, when I walked that labyrinth, I was not the same person that walked out. I don't know what else to share about that, except I just wasn't. The breath. Breathing. When we were doing meditation this morning and I was focusing on my breath, something came to me about what kind of breathing mantra. And so one that I picked up from another Unity minister was, I am, as I breathe in, I am, and God is, as I breathe out. I am, God is. And so if you're doing that in a cycle, the cyclical, I am God. Wait, God is I am God, right? So as God is, I am. Gratitude. I'm learning how to say a blessing over my food. Say how grateful I am. I think it was Meister Eckhart who said that's the only prayer you need is thank you. And let's see. Sometimes just sitting there and letting God love you. Just sit there and let God love you. You don't need to be saying anything, but you're open and willing to receive the love. And then reaching out for help when you need it. So Unity is wonderful because we have silent Unity at Unity Village. It's been going on for 90 years. I'm sure you all, I'm just reminding you of what's available. But when you call 1-800-PRAY-NOW and talk to someone, they've been praying for 24 hours a day for the last 90 years, nonstop. So I have an app on my phone. I can just go to Silent Unity and type in a prayer and they'll pray for that for 30 days straight. You can call them at any time and you'll have someone pray with you. And then prayer partners. I just wanted to talk really briefly about prayer partners and then I'll be done. But I love that I have my sacred, my own time in prayer. There are some times where it's even more powerful to have someone who's like-minded to be praying for you, and then you can pray for them. So there's this book called Multiply Your Blessings, a 90-day prayer partner experience. And they kind of set out the structure of how to have a prayer partner. And so I just wanted to share with you that. Now this last year, I was getting guided that I needed a prayer partner, and I didn't know who to ask. So I just kind of put my prayer intention out there. I need a prayer partner. Maybe there's someone at church or something, and I hadn't found someone yet. And I was talking to my mom, and she says to me, "Would you like to be my prayer partner?" I never thought it would be my mother. Never. So anyway, we do our prayers where we read the daily word in the morning. But, and I feel, anyway, it was a miracle that it was my mother. But we don't necessarily follow the structure, and I'm going to give you the structure because I think that it makes a difference. Because what happens with my mother and I is she'll ask me, what's going on for your day? And I'll just word vomit all of the bad stuff that I'm worried about, right? So, and then she will pick that up and say, she will validate my worry instead of holding a bigger sacred space for me. So this is what these authors say is a prayer partnership. First of all, it's a practice of putting God first in your day, and I love that. So it's a call in the morning. The call should only last from 1 minute to 15 minutes. It is quick, and it should be at the same time every day. So you're committing with your prayer partner a specific time in the morning, and it's not going to go longer than 15 minutes. And you're committing for 90 days, not 89 days, not 91 days, 90 days. How is this different than praying alone? One is that you're going to have a beautiful mirror. Someone is going to mirror back to you that they can see what you can't see for yourself. They can see our greater potential. They can see where we're hiding our greatness. They keep us motivated to keep moving forward. And they can see the whole story of who we can be when we step out of our own way. Also, I noticed that when my mom and I do the daily word, and then we also do some prayers, how powerful it is when we start praying for other people. So instead of my own worries, it's just to step outside of yourself. We mostly just pray for our family, my sister and my nephew and my son, our animals. But it kind of gets you out of your own head and your own stuff, right? So when you're having a prayer partner call, you first say hello. You speak your prayer aloud, and you do that in the affirmative and then in the present. So in Unity, we know how to do affirmations. So whatever your prayer is for the 90 days, make sure that you're doing it in the present tense, and then it's like an affirmation. You do a brief update on any challenges and obstacles. This is where my mom and I don't do a good job, because then we spend 45 minutes talking about everything that's going wrong. Don't do that. You reflect when I speak my prayer aloud, I give a brief update, and then my partner speaks my prayer back to me using my name. Then we do prayer partners, they speak their prayer, do a brief update, and then I speak back their prayer. It's sort of like, I'm writing my dissertation this semester, and I can't even talk about it. I go into overwhelm so easily. But to have the other person hold that sacred space and see it done for me, because I can't do that for myself. So they would be saying to me, I see you walking across the stage. I see you done. I see you complete your writing. And then share something short like scripture or daily word or a poem, and then observe a minute of silence together on the phone. And then say goodbye. So, like I said, I just wanted to kind of give you the buffet of prayer options. I hope that something inspires you to really just to be grounded again in knowing our unity, that we are one with the divine. We are that drop of water, that perfect drop of water that is part of the ocean. and to remember the peace and love that is ours. Thank you.